Welcome back to the channel, where we share with you the most insane and amazing stories from across the internet. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't, so that you won't miss any new stories. One day, a little girl was playing outside when she slipped and fell down the stairs of their apartment building. The fall was so hard that she hit her head on the concrete floor, which made her go into a coma. Her mother couldn't believe what had happened. She wasn't too far away at the time and heard her scream. When she got there, it was clear that this was no ordinary fall. Her daughter's head was bleeding profusely, and after calling 911, she was rushed to the hospital where doctors performed emergency surgery for 2 hours. Afterward, they told her parents that their daughter had suffered a traumatic brain injury, a fractured skull, and a brain hemorrhage. But fortunately, they managed to stabilize her condition. So the following morning, her parents were able to visit her in the hospital. "She looked like she had been through hell," said her mom. "I couldn't stop crying." The doctors had put a shunt in their daughter's brain to drain the blood that had accumulated inside. But even though it was working well, she still had to stay in the hospital for a few more days until they could reduce the amount of medicine she was on. But then something unexpected happened. The day before they were supposed to discharge her from the hospital, she suddenly stopped breathing. Her parents were shocked. They didn't know what had happened. Why did she suddenly stop breathing? Was she gonna make it? Her parents started thinking the worst. It felt like they had already lost their child once, and now it seemed like history was repeating itself. But just when they thought it couldn't get any worse, the doctor came in and told them that their daughter was brain dead. I couldn't believe what he was saying. I screamed, "No, that can't be right." I refused to sign the papers allowing them to take her off life support. I asked if there was anything we could do, any other options we hadn't considered. But he just shook his head and told me she was gone, she recalled. Her parents were devastated. How could this have happened? One moment everything seemed fine, and the next moment she just stopped breathing. After signing the papers, they spent the night by her bedside, holding her hands and telling her how much they loved her. "It was the hardest thing I have ever had to do," her mother admitted. The following morning, the hospital called the family to come back in and talk about the next steps. They wanted to see if maybe they could save some of her organs and donate them to people in need. Her parents knew that this was a noble thing to do, but they weren't sure if they were ready to let go. "I told the doctor we needed more time to grieve, and that we would call him back in a few days," her mom explained. After hanging up the phone, they went home, both of them deeply saddened. They couldn't understand why this had happened to their sweet little girl. They kept replaying the events leading up to the accident over and over in their heads, looking for an answer, but they couldn't find one. As the days passed, the pain of losing their daughter only grew stronger. They missed her so much. Her room, which had once been filled with toys and laughter, now stood empty, mocking them with her absence. Even going downstairs to pick up the mail made them feel sick to their stomachs, because the little girl used to love to go with her dad. One evening, while they were eating dinner, they found the strength to call the hospital and tell them about their decision. They agreed to donate their daughter's organs, hoping that maybe this would give other families the happiness that they had been denied. "We hoped that by donating her organs, our baby would live on in some way," they said. When the ambulance arrived to take their daughter's body away, they said goodbye one last time. As the driver closed the doors, the father saw something incredible. In the little girl's hand, which had been transparent after she died, was a wedding ring. "I don't know how it got there," the father said. "Maybe it was a miracle that she was trying to tell us something. Or maybe it was a message from God letting us know that she was okay and that we should be strong." They buried their daughter the following day. They were too numb with grief to cry. All they could do was watch the coffin being lowered into the ground and slowly filled with soil. Her mother kept replaying the doctor's words in her head. "There is no explanation for this. You just have to accept it," he had said. But she didn't want to accept it. She wanted answers. She began searching online for similar cases and came across an article about a girl who had died after falling down the stairs. The story was almost identical to hers. But that girl's parents had fought for justice and won. After reading the article, she felt inspired. She would do whatever it took to get to the bottom of this. No matter how difficult it was, she owed it to her daughter. With the help of her husband, she tracked down the lawyer who had worked on the other case and explained her situation to him. He listened patiently and then told her he would help her for free. "You don't have to pay me. The only thing I ask is that you use your story to help other people. There are many cases like this that go unknown and unsolved. I want to help bring them to light," he said. And so, the couple began searching for answers. They went back to the hospital and requested a second opinion. They talked to other doctors who had worked on the girl and tried to figure out what had happened, but nobody could give them a definitive answer. It was as if their daughter had died for no reason whatsoever. Feeling helpless, they decided to hire a private investigator to look into the matter. The PI went through all the evidence, including the security footage from the apartment building, but it all pointed to the same conclusion. The girl had simply fallen down the stairs. There was no foul play involved. Still, the parents weren't convinced. Something didn't add up. After weeks of investigating, the PI finally found something interesting. The security footage showed a man walking by right before the accident occurred. He had been lurking around the area and appeared to be watching the little girl play. This man had not been identified and nobody had seen him since. With this new lead, the police were able to track him down. His name was John, and he turned out to be a registered sex offender with a long list of crimes against children. The news spread like wildfire. Parents were outraged and demanded justice for the little girl. The police searched John's apartment and found several items that linked him to the crime. They arrested him and charged him with murder. At the trial, it came out that John had planned to kidnap the little girl and take her to his apartment. But when her mother came out to get her, he panicked and pushed her down the stairs. He was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Even though nothing could bring their daughter back, the parents were relieved to know that justice had been served. And as promised, they used their story to help other families, especially those who had lost children to violence. They also set up a foundation to support research into traumatic brain injuries. I hope that my story will inspire other parents to fight for their children, even when it seems like there is no hope left, she said. I never imagined that this nightmare could ever happen to us, but I've learned that it can, and I want to help other people avoid the pain that we went through.